What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Logic, the unsung hero, the hero you didn't know you needed. I was watching a video by the Turks, this mega mansion that got built in LA that nobody can buy because it's worth like $500 million. I mean, hell, we're still in a pandemic. People aren't trying to be as risky with their money, and only a handful of people could probably actually afford it. So the people who built it are going into bankruptcy, defaulting on the loan, and it's going to try to have to auction off that mansion for about half of what it's worth, which would be a good deal. I mean, it looks kind of nice if you were the type of people to, if you were the type of person that could afford it. But one of the arguments was how easy it was for them to default on the loan and file for bankruptcy and kind of find a loophole or whatever way to get out of the debt. Whereas students who took out loans for college, there's no real way for them to get out of debt. There's no, oh, I'm gonna file bankruptcy and get out of the debt. The debt's gonna follow them, and if there was co-signers on it, it could possibly go to, like, let's say their grandparents, and they can be garnished from their wages or whatever the case may be. And they try to make this argument that companies, have all the outs, right? And I get it. It's not fair. It's not fair. But life isn't fair, right? It is what it is, right? And I'm not saying that big corporations, they're shady, and they have people that work for them that actually know these loopholes, because there's probably loopholes for the common man too. But we don't know the ins and outs of of the economy. We're not smart enough. We don't have the money already up front to even be able to buy a lawyer or whatever, a financial advisor, to even give us the information. A lot of people who start businesses, they fail within the first few years because technically they don't really know what they're doing. The supply and the demand and the area in which you're working in. A lot of people start projects with this hopeful attitude and the idea that, man, I finally got my own thing. That if you really don't know how to run a business, it's gonna fall apart, right? And see, the thing is that the people that have these businesses, these corporations, they they took out loans too. A lot of them probably took out loans, and they probably couldn't get their loans forgiven, but they made the right choices, met the right people, and they were able to get to where they are now. Yeah, of course, there are those generational wealths that got passed down, and there's probably a lot of those too. But we can't all be born into wealth. You know, we can sit there and say, man, your parents, it's unfair that your parents did this, that, and the other in the past, and that you still get the benefit. I'm like, we all know that if we were born into wealth, we would have a different outlook on things. Like, it is what it is. It's always easier to punch up when you don't have shit. You know what I'm saying? There's the haves and the have-nots. It is what it is. But ultimately, in the video that the Turks were talking about, they made a comment about the trickle down effect economy, right? And he made this bad joke about if the mansion fell off the hill, it'd be kind of hilarious or whatever. And he's like, maybe that's what they mean by trickle down economy or something like that. I was like, poor joke, but I see what you're trying to get at. You're taking a shot at the whole concept of, you know, businesses will trickle the money down, and I'm like, look, there there really isn't any perfect way for the economy to run. Our society is too big, and I'm there might not be a perfect way, but maybe there's a best way. I haven't done enough research, but the trickle down is one of the more common. forms of like a economic structure. And I would say that it's the most understandable, and I'd probably vouch for the trickle down effect because I see it like this. All right, I'm a mega $1 million corporation and I'm creating jobs, right? Now, this is, we're going to have to disregard the shady practices as far as, you know, if they're mistreating their employees and stuff like that. That's already wrong, and some of that stuff gets unseen, unreported. But we're talking about just the process in which creating a company creates jobs, puts monies in pockets, and it goes down the ladder. Like the little nuances of are they paying them enough and this and that. That's a separate thing. We're just talking about the fact of this is how the economy works. You would build a corporation. Let's say you have 1,000 employees. So now you have 1,000 people with jobs, right? That have a reason to wake up in the morning and go to work, right? And then they would take the money that they make and they would put it back into the economy by buying things, right? And then some of those 1,000 people, they might take that money, they might start their own business, and eventually they would branch off. Now, like I said, the success rate of someone starting their own business is low, but that's typically how they would start their own business. They're going to have to work somewhere else first and then eventually get a loan, show that they know, that they have good credit, and they would, so on and so forth, right? That's typically just the best way things is going to work. Now you'd be like, oh, but why do the corporations get all these background? Because here's the thing: when that company goes down, the 1,000 jobs go down with it. See, a student who takes out a loan, he's not supporting anybody yet. He's not in charge of anything yet. He's not a finished product. See, when you're a finished product, the government sees that you're already a productive component to society and the economy. You're already there, so that we're gonna keep backing you to make sure the economy keeps turning. And that's how you have to see it. I'm not gonna help someone who hasn't finished the race yet. You have to finish the race, and then we'll make sure that you stay up front. And it sucks, but here's the thing: when you see the perks and the benefits of the corporations and the people on the top, it's supposed to encourage other people to strive to get there. Okay, I see that the perks that they get, I want those same perks. I have to, strive for better. It's like a capitalistic society, like where you society has to be motivated to move forward. And this is why most of the general public are fuck ups, giving them extra chances and loans and this and that. Like I said, the success rate is so low that we would be just dumping money into the gutter because most people won't even know what to do with the money that they're given if they were forgiven. Think of the little COVID checks that everybody was getting. Most people blew that money. They didn't try to find some type of way to invest. People were spending it on bullshit. They didn't probably necessarily know how long we were going to stay under the protocol. So they were thinking, hell, most people didn't even return back to work. And even my job, we struggled for workers, and people are still struggling for workers now. That already tells you that giving money to people unmotivates them to actually do what the fuck they need to do. Now, you could be saying, but they were making almost as much as the check that they were given, so they didn't really see any reason to go to work. And I said, that's my fucking point. Regardless of how much the check was compared to what you were making, here's the thing: the economy also runs on like good faith. And what I mean by that is you have to want to work. You don't want to have to work. especially when you're at the bottom, when you really can't you really can't afford to just be running around slacking off and shit. You have to create a need and a want. It's a character thing. See, a needing to work is, if I don't work, I'm about to lose my house and lose my car. And I understand the motivation when it comes to needing to work. But there has to be this thing in the back of your mind that says, I want to work because I want to be productive. I want to have purpose and meaning. And that takes like a kind of moral character that a lot of people don't have. If you could give someone like $10 million and he would just not work and sit and chill on an island and then just slowly let the money deplete over time, even if you were to say, oh, he may invest the money and let some business grow, I still that's a little on the iffy side. What I mean is, putting your money somewhere and watching it grow, that's one thing. You could call it, you can kind of make it seem like you did something, but I'm talking about the type of person that feels fulfilled by getting up in the morning, commanding orders, or doing something with their hands, or like, for the paycheck, like the actual need to, or want to be in society, making moves, and being what's the word, but being useful. You know what I'm saying? You have to have that kind of mentality for the economy to really work, to where if I give you free money, you won't just think of an opportunity not to work. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing, most people are like that. And that's why the economy doesn't work. Like, aside from the whole, oh, the companies are being shady and they're not paying you, and they're maybe the loophole, whatever, like that. Like, we can't trust regular folks to do what the fuck they need to do with money. That's why the government doesn't be bailing out the average Joe. The average Joe are fuck ups. The top elite people are the ones that made all the decisions, and maybe they had a head start. I'm not, gonna fight you on that, but they're already part of the economy. They're the big wigs on the top. And the best way to do is you have to trickle down. And I tell you the truth, you really can't trickle down too much, because it de-incentivizes people to fucking keep moving. It's like you almost have to starve the people to get them to do what the fuck they need to do. Now, if they were to do it on their own and actually be self-motivated, and not trying to look for a quick payout, then yeah, in a perfect world, I tell you this, in a perfect world, I could solve all our problems in a perfect world. In a perfect world, we would just do everything out of the kindness of our hearts, and it'd be kind of like a trade barter system. Like, you know, I'll do X, Y, and Z because it's just good for the community. And then I wouldn't have nobody would have to pay rent, because everybody, everything would be everybody would understand their role in the community, and everybody would do shit for free. Everybody would just like, everybody would be a kind person. We would just do shit for free. Surgeries on bodies would be done because it's the right thing to do. Giving out free food. You can just go up, pick an apple out of a basket. Don't even have to pay. But here's the thing: you wouldn't take more than what you needed. You would just be like, all right, I got a family of two. I'll take a couple apples. There would be no, I'm gonna keep oh, since it's free, I'm gonna keep taking a bunch of apples so I can just hoard up. If everybody took exactly what they needed and did shit out the kindness of the heart, that'd be in a perfect world. We wouldn't really need to have this trickle down economy and this and that, and have, what I'm saying? But that'd be in a perfect world. That would be how you would solve every problem. But that's a fantasy. And that's never gonna happen. And the closest you could probably see to something like that is probably off in the wild, in some tribe, in a community that's not really big. It's not America size, where the village maybe has a few hundred people. Everybody knows their role. There's the hunters that come out and bring food back to the village. There's contributors, as people who kick, skin, maybe use the stuff for clothing, use the other parts for food, and you know what I'm saying. There's probably like some town chief and whatever. Everybody knows the role, and there's probably no currency exchange. It's just like, hey man, you provided a service, you're a contributor to the tribe, and and we respect it, and you get a piece of the pie. But when you get to the size of America and these other countries, you can't sustain it because the amount of people and the amount of fuck ups in there is so huge that it just wouldn't even really work. We had to create a money system to try to use that to motivate people to work. Money has to be scarce to a degree so it doesn't lose its value, and then and that it creates a desire for people to want to go out and get it. We almost have to trick people into supporting the economy because people are inherently lazy and greedy. Period. Inherently lazy and greedy. Most people would take a little more than what they need. If you gave a person enough money, they wouldn't work. That's in everybody. Not like every single person on earth, but majority of people would do that shit. So when people complain about the economy and the big wigs and the trickle down and it don't work and they're blah blah, I understand why they do this shit. You have to take yourself out of the equation and stop looking at it as, oh, I'm just a little cog in the wheel, and they treat me like shit. I was like, they have to treat you like shit because most people ain't shit. Like, yeah, I mean, even the people in the big wig companies, I mean, yeah, they're not, like, there is no perfect company. Everybody's treated fairly and this and that. Like, you're gonna find little bullshits and everything, but that's just the world we live in. So yeah, that's like kind of how my thought on economics works. Um, it's not perfect. It'll never be perfect, and that's just because our human nature keeps it from being perfect. But it's your boy Logic, the unsung hero, the hero you didn't know you needed.